Hey, everybody. It's your lovely Lotus Blossom Lizzie, and we are doing a junk journal processing video for today. And this is junk journal processing video 2 for this particular junk journal. And it's going to be in the playlist for how to make an easy junk journal. So you can follow along. If you haven't seen how we made this journal, you can actually go back and check that out. So the first thing I did was I kind of went back onto the page I was working on the day before, and I put some washi on, did some outlining, and you'll see at the end I'll have a picture of everything. And I also added a few other elements to that page. And then I went on to this one. I had some napkins and I wanted to try to use them in some very lovely ways. And so I decided to kind of break them up, and I did that off camera before I decided to record this. But you'll see in a moment how I actually break up the napkins to put them on. And I was very lazy, and I just decided to use a glue stick to put this down, and it worked just perfectly. And of course you can see all that lovely purple there, but once the purple dries, it actually dries clear, so it wasn't really an issue. And I'm just making sure all the edges are stuck down good. And then I decided to move on to another page after that, because that's kind of how I roll when it comes to doing these kind of things in my junk journal. Is sometimes I'll just put bits and pieces on different pages, and that's what I did today. And then I kind of concentrated on one page, just because that's kind of my flow of where my mind took me. It took me to this page and it said, okay, add a little more here, add a little more there. And so that's what I did. So with this page, I decided to use some tickets because they were just on my desk. And so I just picked those up and I added some vintage photo to the tickets, and I just put those over to the side for now. And I also had a button jar on my desk as well, because I hadn't cleaned my desk up from the night before. So it was just perfectly sitting there in front of me. So I took some buttons and I put some thread into them, because I also had the thread on my desk as well. So as you can see, you can put anything into your junk journal, and when you get finished with it, it's just going to look absolutely beautiful. Now, I did know that once I put these buttons in, I knew that it was going to add some bulk to my junk journal. But if you've been watching my channel, you know that I don't really care about the bulk. The bulk is a-okay for me. And so now I'm still working through putting the thread into the buttons, because that kind of took me like a few minutes, because threading things is not my joint really. But I did want to use like various colors when I did this. And I guess you're wondering, why am I threading some buttons instead of just sewing the buttons onto the paper? Well, this way I'm going to kind of have like a faux sewn button on, so it won't be like your like a button that's sewn on, but it's going to stay. And you'll see I'm going to glue them down in a moment. So the colors that I used was yellow and a red and a blue. I was kind of trying to match some of the colors that were on the background of this page. And so that's why I picked these particular colors, because I'm not really a matchy person. But you don't want to be like too crazy with your colors, right? So now I'm just taking some more string off of my little samples here. And you probably can get these little samples anywhere. They come like in a pack. And then you'll have like a variety of colors if you don't want to buy like whole spools of thread. Or you can save like your scraps of thread as well, because you know us here in the crafting world, we use everything. So even little pieces of thread, you can use those as well. So I used the Aleene's tacky glue, and I put down the tickets, And now you can see how things are coming together. And then I laid the threads on top of the tickets. And I always try to do like a pre-layout type of deal so I can see how things are going to look after I decide to put them down. So I'm just putting a little bit of glue down up under the threads just to hold them in place until I get the buttons on. And then I add a good dollop of glue onto each button just to make sure that they won't come up. And with this Aleene's tacky glue is perfect for a project like this, because once that glue dries, no ma'am, nothing's coming up off this page. So now I took like this little piece or another scrap, a piece of a kid's workbook here, and I had it in a bag, and so I decided to take it out. And I was looking for like a piece to kind of put over the top of it, and I was going to use that piece right there, but it was more like a frame, and that really wasn't what I was looking for. So I just kept rifling through this book to kind of figure out what I wanted to use, because I decided that I'm going to use more of the stickers that I have, because I have a quadzillion stickers here, and so I want to use some of the stickers. So I decided to use that piece of paper for a background, and then I just cut all that extra paper off, and I was like, that's perfect. So now it's time to really like zhuzh that piece of paper up. Because you know, nothing is ever finished when I'm working on my stuff. So now I took out some watercolors and my water brush pens. I love these pens because they already have the water inside of them. And so I decided I was going to use a little bit of red on the top. And you can see I'm not doing anything defined. I'm just kind of just giving that paper some color. And one reason why I like using the watercolors is because when you put them down, everything behind it still shows. So it has like a really wonderful background. So you could actually like go ahead and write your words on the paper, and then you can use the watercolors over the top, and it'll still look really nice. So I wasn't really sure what colors I wanted to use, but you know, it all worked out in the end. So I got this little stamp, again, a stamp that I never use, and I decided to just use this little decoration at the top. And again, you'll see close-up pictures so you can see what it looks like, because I know it's a little far away for you, but it's going to be okay. Don't worry. I got y'all covered. So now I'm slathering my purple glue on the back, because that's my go-to glue of choice besides the Aleene's tacky glue. You know, she's always going to be first. And I took out some StazOn and some pre-made circles that I have. And I decided to use some of my big block stamps. I love these stamps so much because they have such a vintage look when I put them on the paper. And I'm using the number 18 because it's the 18th when I did this. So, and I'm actually going to do some journaling, so I wanted to denote just the date. No big deal. You know, you don't have to put the dates on in your planner, because I have like wonky dates all over the place in my journals, and they don't really have a rhyme or reason. But of course, if you're an A person, you might want to have a rhyme or reason with yours. But for me, I just like the look of it, so that's what I did. So I put some vintage photo around that, and I'm going to put this down with some Aleene's tacky glue. And I decided to put the 18 down in a vertical manner instead of horizontal, because I wanted it to have kind of a different look and add a different dimension for what I was doing. And I also decided that this little piece, it needed a frame. It was just kind of sitting on that page and it didn't really have a frame. So I took out my Papermate flares, because I don't use those enough either. So as you can see, this is a great way to use lots of different supplies that you have. You know, you're only limited by your own creativity or supplies, so you just use whatever you have. And of course, you don't have to use a lot of supplies at all. You can just use a regular ink pen, to do this. So this is one of the few doodles that I know how to do, and that's the little vines. So I took out a napkin, and I wanted to use the butterfly on here. And so I do have a piece of tape in my hand. You can't see it, but it's just some Scotch tape, and that's how I got the back of the napkin off. It was really, really easy to do it that way. And then I have this little bottle that I got with my We Are Memory Keepers tear guide, and what it has is like a tip, and the bottle is filled with water. And so I'm just going around this, and I'm essentially just wetting where I want the paper to tear. But you still have to be really careful with the napkins because they will rip, even though, it looks like this is going fast, but I really was taking my time to go around that butterfly, and I'm glad I did because he looks absolutely fantastic, doesn't he? Even though he has like some little jagged edges around it, doesn't make a difference. It still looks very, very beautiful. And I put that down with my purple glue as well. And then I'm just going to give it a spot of a wipe up. And now I am going to actually just kind of do a little bit of journaling on here as well, because I already had the thought in my mind. Now I took out my micron pen, but it wasn't really writing well. Once it hit that watercolors, it was like, nope, I don't want to write. So I took out my Sharpie pens, which is really my pen of choice for when I'm journaling inside of my book, because they write on almost anything and they come out very dark as well. And I didn't even worry about trying to write nice and neat. I just wrote my sloppy writing down. I didn't give it any thought, and I just wrote down my thoughts for the moment, and then I just dated it as well. So I really like, and actually I put the wrong date on there, but that's okay. It'll be all right. So here you can see this page. I added the 2 on the picture. I did some outlining as well, and I added some washi tape to this page. So it came out very, very nicely. And on this page, I added just some napkins. I didn't do anything else. And I'll come back to this page and put some more elements on, maybe some journaling and maybe not some journaling. I'm not sure. Sometimes I'll just leave the page the way it is. I know I didn't want to cover up Gulliver because I love that fantastic image. And then I kind of focused my energy onto this page with the buttons and the tickets. And then also I, put the date on here, and I really, really love how everything came out. So with that, I'm going to end, and I'm going to say love, peace, and hair grease from your sweet lotus blossom and lovable Lizzie. Have a fantabulous day and enjoy life.